Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a background image for your website in Adobe Photoshop. So for example, on this site here you can see these players on the background. Let's create an image similar to this. So what you're going to want to do is open up Photoshop, and I already opened up a template file here which I'll make available on our knowledge base for download. But we're going to want to go ahead and add the players to the background image. Now I have a layer here with a little bit of kind of like grunge and some jersey texture, but you don't have to use that. You can put on top of a solid color or something, that looks fine too. So let's go ahead and open our images of our players into Photoshop. So I have a few images here, and let's grab these images. So these are just stock images. I haven't made any changes or anything to them, so I'll go ahead and grab the images. Let's put them in the file so we have them to work with. Okay, now that I've copied them into our working file here, we got our images. Let me just hide this website layer. Now, selecting images. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that of the images, choosing the right image is the image big enough. So if you put the image on, for example, and the image is like, for maybe that small, it won't really fill the space. And then if you try and just scale up the image, then it'll just get grainy and blurry. So it's not something that you really want to do. It won't look good. So make sure that the image is large enough that you start with. Second thing is that it should be crisp. Now the background example here is blurry. That's okay. But the actual player himself is nice and clear, and it's nice high quality. It's not blurry. So that's good. And the next thing is we're setting up the images. So we're going to put an image on the left, the image on the right, and then maybe one in the header. Now you want, ideally if you're putting a player in the background image, you want them to be looking into the website or focused on the website. So this image, for instance, would not look good on the left because he's looking away, but on the right it'd be perfect. So we'll just go ahead and you can edit, and you can choose transform, and you can scale, edit, transform, and scale, and you can scale the image down or Control T. So we'll grab this image here and we'll just go ahead and scale it, and we'll just drop it right about there. So that's kind of good. You want to try and get close to the guide, but you definitely don't want to cover it because the website content will be inside those guides. So we'll just kind of put it right about there. So that's good for that one. And let's grab the next one. This one we're going to put in the header, so we'll just hide that one for now. Let's grab this next image. This will go on the left. So we're just going to scale this image down. And we'll just go, I think it's, you see she's looking away, so we'll go with this girl here. And that looks about right. And we'll put her right there. And now let's put our image here. So when you, in the website, you might have like some header text here. And then if you use, you might use a sponsor image here or a promo image here or a text, but you may not. So you can, if you don't, you can definitely put image here. But to make this readable, typically, if you're going to have text here or here, then you want to just put the image between them. Of course, if you don't have text, then you can just put images right across the header. But we'll just go ahead and we'll just eyeball it and say, yeah, we'll just put them right about there. So we'll put that image in there. Okay, great. So the next thing is you probably want to increase, just maybe alter the images a little bit. Like this image, for example, on the left is a little bit dark. So I'll click in the layers panel, I'll click on that image, and I'll choose image, adjustment, brightness, and contrast. And let's just go ahead and bring up the brightness because it's, there we go, now we can see her. She was quite dark before. The two kind of adjustments that you can do is contrast and brightness. So image, adjustment, brightness, one we just did. And then there's another one here called brightness and contrast, sorry, it's under the same one. And you can kind of just increase the contrast. That makes the darks a little bit darker, the lights a little bit lighter, and kind of gives a nicer look to it. Now we have our images placed. Obviously this doesn't look very good, they're kind of all overlapping and whatnot. We'll want to add some layer masks. So you'll click on the image in the layers panel, and you'll click this little icon down here with it's like a rectangle with a circle in it. And it'll put this white box right beside it. So we'll go ahead and do that for all of the images. And now you notice when you click on the image, it puts a white box around it. So you can see I'm like on the image, but here I'm on the layer mask. So that you can be on the image or on the layer mask. So what you want to be is on the layer mask. And then on the left-hand side, you want to choose the gradient tool. Now, if you don't see it, you might see the paint bucket or this one here, but right click on it and choose the gradient tool. And now what happens is when you're on the layer mask selected, just not the image, but layer mask, wherever you draw black, it will hide the image. So up here, you may have it set like this by default. Ideally, what you want to do is push D so you can get back to your white black here, switch it so it's just black. And then what you want to do is go up here and choose just black to nothing. So what I'll be doing now is with the gradient tool, it'll start black and then it'll just go to no color. And then I can click at the very bottom and I can drag this up and then drop it right about here. Oops, there's a mistake there. I actually want to be on, up here it shows it's a radial tool right now, a circle. You want to be on the solid solid line here, like not a circle one here. And okay, good. Actually, sorry, I want to be on this one here, black to nothing. So I'll go ahead and try that again. Drag that up. Oops. Yep, there we go. And now what it does is anything underneath this, it'll hide it and it'll blend it. So, and then we'll go ahead and do it on the right here because this is where the logo is going to go. Now, you don't want to do it on top of her face because if you do it on top of her face, it's going to kind of start erasing her face. So what I recommend is start using the circle tool, switch over to circle, and just kind of come in here and just remove this. But you want to be careful to keep your image untouched. So that looks pretty good. So we'll click on the other one, and then we'll go back to this tool here, and we're on the middle one here. So we'll just kind of drag this across, drag this in there, and then we'll come up from the bottom, and then we'll go to the right side. And you know what, the brightness on this is a little bit low, so let's just increase that. There we go. And we'll go back to the layer mask, and then we'll just drag this over like that. And then I'll put my texture back in, and actually I'll probably just leave it off for this example. So that looks pretty good. Now that's a working background. Make a note that this down here, this solid color, you don't want to have the image down here like this, because then you want the background always at the bottom to go to a solid color. So when down here, if you just eyedrop this, use an eyedropper, you click it, and then you click on your foreground color here, you can see the code is E5, E5, E5. So then for your repeating background color under design and header and background, you can set this, and that way your background image will seamlessly blend into your the repeating color on your website. And lastly, now that your image is ready, you want to just save it. So you want to choose, go up here and go File, and then there should be a Save for Web. Save for Web. I guess you can just choose Save As, and then choose JPEG. Right here, you want it as a JPEG, and then click Save. Here we go. Yeah, this will work fine. So then under the quality, you'll notice here that it says its quality, right now it's set to 7. 12 is the maximum. So that file would be 861 kilobytes. That's way too big, way too big. It'll make the page loads too long. So let's go ahead and decrease this. You're looking for something around, I recommend maybe around 150 kilobytes, something like 3. As long as you're not putting text or anything, these are just images. So even though it's saying it's a low quality, it'll still look really good. For example, this image here is probably only 120 kilobytes or something like that. So yeah, so that's fine, 150 kilobytes, and we'll just say OK. And now the file's saved. So then you can just upload that to your website. So that's it. That's how you make a background for your website in Photoshop. Thanks for watching.